As we wait, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Madison Burnett, and I'm a BCBA. I lead our professional development program, and I'm going to be able to support you throughout the webinar today. In addition to that role, I work alongside other BCBAs on our clinician-led recruitment team, and I support in the effort of recruiting quality professionals to join our team. If you are interested in joining our team, please indicate so in the post-webinar survey at the end of this webinar, or you can email careers@manhattanpsychologygroup.com. All right. I'm going to leave this poll up for a little bit longer, but to kind of introduce you to our team and our company, because I do see that there are the majority are new attendees. I'd love to introduce you guys to about us. So Jenny, if you could go on to the next slide, that'd be great. All right. So about Manhattan Psychology Group, we were established in 2011, and we've continued to grow our team consisting of skilled adult and child psychologists, neuropsychologists, behavior analysts, special educators, and licensed social workers. As a team, we are committed to wraparound care, which includes our wide range of services from mental health and testing to ABA and educational services. This holistic approach allows us to address various needs and challenges with compassion and care. We provide services to clients out of our Upper West Side and Long Island City offices, in home, school, and clinic-based settings, as well as through telehealth. Our team is committed to serving individuals, couples, and families of all ages in diverse settings. We're also pleased to offer these free monthly webinars for parents and professionals, where we continue to learn and foster meaningful connections. Our vision at MPG is to create a future where individuals and their families feel supported, connected, and empowered. Our mission is to provide multidisciplinary integrated support for individuals and their families who experience mental health, behavioral, and educational challenges. In an effort to stand by our mission and vision, we are thrilled to offer free 20-minute phone consultations with our clinical team. You can schedule one of these times by visiting our website, manhattanpsychologygroup.com, or you can follow the link that I'll be putting in the chat in a little bit. Today, we'll be leaving the chat open, but please post any questions that you have in the Q&A so that we can make sure that they are seen. If there's time at the end of the presentation, Jenny will be answering some of these questions as well as some of them throughout. Okay, and now I'm excited to introduce today's speaker. Jenny Moss is a licensed marriage and family therapist who takes a humanistic approach to her sessions, which is the belief that all beings are innately good and possess the capacity to create the life they wish to lead. She works with individuals ages 6 to 100 years old, as well as couples and families. She specializes in treatment of anxiety disorders, depression, as well as couples counseling. By utilizing her skills in emotionally focused therapy, narrative therapy, family systems, and cognitive behavioral therapy, Jenny helps clients find immediate symptom relief while also helping them gain insight to how past experiences have shaped their present identities and situations. In addition, she helps clients break down negative narratives and replaces them with more adaptive mindsets so they can move towards self-actualization. And now, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Jenny.
Hi, thank you so much.
Of course.
So whether you're here professionally or personal reasons, it means so much to me that you dedicated time out of your day to watch this presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me during the presentation, or you can wait till the end of this to ask any questions. And if they're on a more personal level, I will leave my email address at the end of the presentation, and you can reach out to me, and I will be happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. So my name is Jenny Moss. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist at Manhattan Psychology Group. I am so delighted to welcome you all to today's webinar on a topic that is so close to my heart, couples communication. Communication is the cornerstone of every successful relationship, and yet what constitutes communication varies widely depending on our goals and the dynamics of each relationship. Nowhere is this more evident than in marriage or within the couple, where the quality of communication can profoundly impact the intimacy and depth of our connection. As a systems therapist, I'm always looking at how the individual interacts with their environment and how the couples interact with each other. I'm mostly fascinated with how the couples interact, or how the two marry each other and how those systems interact with each other. So the objectives that I want to cover today are self-awareness and reflection, why defensiveness is a relationship killer, have I validated my partner, did I empathize with them, why tone matters, why body language can feed emotional safety, and empathy. Am I able to show my partner that while I may not fully understand their position, I can try to imagine what it would be like to be in their shoes? Am I listening to what my partner is saying? So this is self-awareness and self-reflection. Am I listening to what my partner is saying? Have I clarified it? Or am I placing my own judgment on their request, statement, or suggestion? Have I taken this personally? So this is a lot to take in. When you communicate with your partner, spouse, family members, coworkers, you develop a pattern or set of skills that you unconsciously take with you in these encounters. I would describe it like a dance that you become comfortable with. Unfortunately, in our younger years, we're not taught the right ways to communicate, so we learn this type of dance or pattern from our caretakers. In a healthy, secure attachment, there will be appropriate boundaries and healthy forms of communication. In households with insecure attachments, you will find a lack of communication or none at all. There's no guarantee that our caretakers will have the appropriate boundaries needed for these secure attachments to exist. So it really is about luck for most children. Active listening. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and they're telling you about something unrelated to you, but somehow you personalize it and stop listening? Now the story has become about you, and not only have you stopped listening, you are also now hearing something else, which feels like an attack on you. It's important to try to remember it's never about you. It's almost always about the person speaking. So if you listen, you will learn that you are not the enemy. And in fact, if someone takes the time to talk about their feelings with you, that means they care about you. They trust you enough to share this thought, and they may be open to your thoughts or even suggestions. And a great tool in learning how to actively listen is the couples dialogue. The couples dialogue is also known as the imago dialogue. It's an intervention that comes from the theory of imago therapy by Harville Hendrix. This is the book by Harville Hendrix, Getting the Love You Want. I love this book. I highly recommend it to anyone getting in a relationship, to professionals, to anyone that wants to know more about themselves, wants to know more about their past. And in it is the couples dialogue. It's a script that he's come up with for a dialogue. I use it with all my couples. It's my favorite tool in communication. So I really want to go over this script with you guys because this is definitely the best communication tool that I use. In the dialogue, there's going to be a sender and a receiver. So the sender is the person saying the message, what they want to convey to the person listening. And the message is usually why they're unhappy, and they want to let them know what is making them feel a certain way. The receiver will mirror that. So rather than waiting for their chance to be defensive, which means they're not listening in the first place, they're going to repeat what they've heard. And the receiver will ask if they got that right. The sender can choose to say more or say yes. The receiver will validate what the sender has said. This just lets the sender know that they are heard. It sounds like That makes sense to me. Validation. Then the receiver will empathize with the sender, trying to put themselves in the sender's shoes. I can imagine you felt abandoned when I didn't call you and was 3 hours late from work. So, just for this to make a little bit more sense, I want to show you guys a short video on this played out.
Mike, I need you to stop being such a slob.
Genevieve, I do the dishes, I do all the bills, and what, you're gonna come down on me for leaving my backpack on the table?
It's more than just that. I literally go in the kitchen. I feel like a gorilla has left it. Your stuff is
Listen,
everywhere.
I can't live in some Barbie fairy tale spotless home.
Good communication is really foundational for a healthy and conscious relationship. And in the book, Getting the Love You Want, we are given a phenomenal tool that helps us do just that. It's called the couples dialogue, and it's something that both partners learn and practice together. And it goes something like this. Basically, when one person has an issue or concern that they want to bring up with their partner, they ask for a couples dialogue. Then all of a sudden, that person becomes the sender and the other partner becomes the receiver. And as the receiver, our job is really just to listen. And there's three parts to that. The first thing that we want to do is to mirror back whatever the sender is saying. So whatever their issue is, we want to mirror back to be sure that we're hearing it correctly, because that's so common that we muddle things up in our minds as we're in heated arguments. The second thing the receiver wants to do is that we want to validate whatever the sender is saying. So we want to, again, echo back that we hear what they're saying, that we understand that it makes sense, that there's logic to it. And that, again, it's just about a way of connecting and keeping that line of communication open. And then the third and final thing we are to do as the receiver is to empathize. And this is about evoking that emotional, that compassionate side of ourselves that really can feel for the other person. It's about putting yourself in their shoes and understanding from that perspective. So that's kind of the couples dialogue in a nutshell. So now we're going to revamp that first kind of nasty argument that Mike and I had the couples dialogue way. Mike, I really would like to have a couples dialogue. Is now a good time?
Let me kill the tube here. What's going on?
I'm just feeling just kind of overwhelmed and frustrated around the house and the messiness. I feel like I'm always tidying up. And in particular, I feel like I'm tidying up after you.
All right, so you're feeling angry that the house is a mess all the time. Did I get that right?
Part of it's right. Yes, I do feel angry, but more frustrated. And in particular, I feel like, yes, it's messy, but I feel like I pick up after you a lot of the time. And that's what's been hard.
Okay, so you're feeling angry and frustrated that the house is a mess and you feel like you have to pick up after me all the time. Did I get that right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, well, I can see where you're coming from because the house is kind of a mess and I do tend to lay my stuff wherever. So sorry about that. And I know that it has been a little more chaotic since Griffin was born. And I can imagine that you'd feel a little more chaotic with my stuff laying around.
Thanks.
So that is a quick example of the couples dialogue. It's important to note that the receiver, or me in this case, doesn't just get railroaded with the couples dialogue. I might have a legitimate grievance about my bag or whatever, but the point is that it's my time to listen right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, it's really just about practicing listening to each other. And it's so incredible to be the receiver of that and to be heard and have empathy and validation of, what's going on. And then to Mike's point, if he had some issues or wanted to talk something, he had, would initiate with me this couple's dialogue. And then we work through whatever he was going through. So it's really an awesome tool that we've learned through this book, Harville Hendrix, Getting the Love You Want. That's it, the couple's dialogue. And I hope you guys give it a try.
So before we move on, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. Put them in the chat. I highly recommend that this is done preventatively and not in the midst of a chaotic fight. If you put this tool into practice, it will start to feel more natural until eventually it's a dialogue, a conversation, communication, the small step of mirroring really gives the receiver or listener an opportunity to hear the partner rather than become defensive and take the problem personally. So moving on to problem solving. It's easy to slip into the problem solving role as the listener when, oh, actually, let me see. How can you ensure that the receiver truly listens to you? So someone is asking, how can you ensure that the receiver truly listens to you? That's why you're mirroring. So when the receiver has to mirror. When the receiver mirrors, that's then the sender says, I got that right. So the sender says their message, I have this problem, and the receiver mirrors. That's their opportunity to let the sender know that they heard the problem. Then the sender has the opportunity to say, yes, you heard my problem correctly, or no, you did not hear my problem correctly. I hope that answers the question. Okay, so problem solving. It's easy to slip into the problem solving role as a listener when the speaker is talking about a difficult situation. As a natural impulse, someone we love is in distress and we want to ease their pain. The problem is often off the mark and not quite understood from the listener's perspective. This is again why mirroring is so great, because many times a person would like the opportunity to vent or strategize their problem out loud using a sounding board. Really, they just want to be heard or listened to while they come up with a solution on their own. By coming up with a solution, by you coming up with a solution, you are conveying a message that you do not think they are capable of doing this on their own. Instead, what you could do is ask, what are you thinking you should do? Do you need help with this? So you're giving the person an opportunity to tell you if they want your help coming up with a solution.
Jenny, it doesn't look like the slides are progressing that you're sharing.
Are you not?
We're still on the video.
Oh, I'm not. It's so weird.
Okay, there you go. Perfect.
What do you want now?
Stop problem solving.
Okay. That's so strange. Okay, so that's what I just went through. So I'm just going to continue on, but I'll keep it up for a second. I'm going to move on to tone. Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on to tone. So why does tone matter? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. I'm gonna watch another video on tone just to set the tone.
And being married is also something, never imagined it, love it, wonderful thing. I love my wife, she's the most wonderful girl in the world. But there are certain things. What is the problems with the male and the female living together in the house? The big problem that I see, and I think a lot of men in the audience will understand this, if you live with a woman, the problem is a tone of voice problem. When I was single, I was not aware that I have many different tones. I have since learned that not only are there many different tones, I am often speaking in the incorrect tone. My what? Your tone. My tone? Yes, your tone. What tone? That. Is it too high, too low, too sharp, too flat? I don't like your tone. Better change your tone. Now, the male tone does change over the course of the relationship. In the beginning, when the male initially pursues the female, we tend to have our voice higher, don't we, in the beginning? You know, we tend to talk like this because it sounds a little more vulnerable, a little sweeter. And, you know, Chinese food or Italian sounds great. Or we can take a drive and go for a walk. But then the relationship gets a little more comfortable. The male voice starts to come down here. This tone here, you hear this one? This is the one they don't like. I like the higher tone because it makes them think that he will fit in well with the other little stuffed animals on. My actual speaking voice that I am using right now to communicate with you is not welcome in my house. If I was to walk in my house and go, all right, I got to get something to eat. Any guy I know would say, fine, what do you feel like? Any woman will say, why are you yelling at me? The woman's tone also changes in the relationship. Once the couple is fully enclosed into the bowels of the relationship, bowels might not be the perfect word. But when I mean you're into it, the arguments will happen. And in the argument, the woman's tone, all women, and when I say all women, I mean all women, will find it necessary to imitate the speech of the man. And they will always make it like, you always said it, you don't want to. Who the hell is this guy? I have never spoken like this. I have never seen anyone speak like this. Just because you don't hear how you sound. How the hell has every woman in the world met the same imaginary man?
Oh. Okay.
And being
So, in fact, it has been confirmed by some well-known research conducted by Dr. Albert Moraban that 7% is verbal and 93% is nonverbal. Over a 2-year period, using a computer algorithm, researchers from the University of Southern California recorded hundreds of conversations and therapy sessions. They focused particularly on a pitch and intensity of voices and which indicated high emotion. Over 100 couples participated, and the findings were reported in the journal Proceedings of Interspeech. Amazingly, results showed that the tone of voice was a better predictor of marital success than the opinions of counseling professionals. This is even more significant when you consider that these counseling professionals had the distinct advantage of being able to analyze couples' behavior, body language, and other communication factors. In the article, he goes on to say that little things like please and thank you within the relationship made a big difference. The kindness you show one another matters. It builds like a stack of bricks. There's a strong foundation, then one small fight or comment will be forgotten. But if the foundation is not strong, there is nothing to withstand the storm. Self-reflection. How does one get self-reflection, and how can that be beneficial in communication? So this is about individual therapy, and how can that be crucial in gaining a deeper internal awareness on thoughts, patterns, and how they can affect one's behavior. It can help you understand your own constructs, your traumas, fears, and views on the world. When you are aware of this in regards to yourself, you can communicate it to your partner. Once you have relayed these messages, it becomes easier for your partner to understand you, where you're coming from. And when you react in certain ways, perhaps the two of you develop a type of language or dialogue that becomes your own. So I also want to go into just want to talk about something that regretfully I did not add into as a slide into this, but in individual therapy or even in couples therapy, something that I would definitely touch upon is a theory by Dr. John Gottman called the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And it's definitely worth mentioning. But it's a metaphor to describe four styles of communication that can predict the end of a relationship. So this would be criticism, contempt, stonewalling, and one that we did touch upon, which was defensiveness. Criticism, an attack on your partner at the core of their character. Contempt assumes a position of moral superiority over them. And stonewalling occurs when the listener withdraws from the interaction, shuts down, and simply stops responding to their partner. All of these can be avoided using the couple's dialogue, watching tone, having self-reflection, and empathy. Which leads me to empathy. Empathy is attempting to hear or understand your partner's perspective and foster a safe environment for trust. It's not always about what's being said, but what is not being said. By being with someone for a certain amount of time, you develop a rapport and your own unique couple's language that only the two of you will understand. And it's vital to handle this knowledge with care. Do not weaponize each other with it, but try rather to recognize maybe my partner is having a reaction because of a prior trauma that only I know about. And for that, I will be more gentle with them. And I will try to communicate my understanding while also communicating my frustrations with them. Using the couples dialogue is really, really important here. Just really trying to be patient, trying to express your own needs using I statements, telling somebody how you feel while also being patient, waiting for them to respond to you how they feel is helpful here. So I just want to end with a little quote. Just as a tree needs water and sunlight, a relationship needs good communication and love to grow and thrive. Relationships are a journey and communication is an effort. I attached a couple books that I thought would be helpful in communication. And welcome any questions at this time.
Okay, so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A, or if you raise your hand and you would like to just ask it verbally, we can give you permission to unmute yourself so that we can make sure that your questions are answered.
Also, they can absolutely leave an email. We can leave my email in the chat below for any personal questions.
Yeah. Okay, so as we wait for that to, you have time to type out your questions. If you do think of a question after we do end this webinar, like Jenny said, you're more than welcome to email Jenny directly, or you can email professionaldevelopment@manhattanpsychologygroup.com, and we'll then forward it on to her so that she can be sure to support as needed. So here is, let me see. I am typing out. So that everybody can see this is her email. Again, just feel free to reach out with any questions that you do have. On the next slide, you'll see some links that could be helpful for you. You'll see links for our upcoming mental health webinars as well as ABA webinars. This does conclude the end of our webinar. We'll stand for a few extra minutes in case any other questions do roll in. But again, if you think of something after we do end, please feel free to reach out. Well, thank you so much, Jenny. It was so nice to have you talk and to provide some extra information. And you shared a lot of good resources. So I will also make sure that if anybody has any questions about any of the resources that she shared, that we can send them on. But other than that, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.